For centuries, Earth had lived quietly, almost like it did not exist to the rest of the galaxy. Humans had reached the stars, built colonies on distant planets, and fought small skirmishes. But compared to the mighty empires out there, Earth seemed weak. Civilizations like the Obsidian Empire controlled thousands of planets, their fleet stretching across light years. Humans were considered insignificant, primitive, and unworthy of attention. And yet, hidden deep beneath Earth's oceans, something waited, a secret the galaxy had long forgotten. It was called Leviathan, a prototype warship unlike any other. Built during the height of humanity's secret defense programs, it was the result of decades of planning, sacrifice, and brilliant human ingenuity. Governments had poured all their resources into it, fearing a future invasion by stronger races. But after initial tests, the ship proved too powerful, too dangerous to be deployed. Leaders called it a necessary risk and then buried it in secrecy, hidden in the deepest trenches of the oceans, forgotten by almost everyone. Only a few humans sworn to secrecy knew it existed. They had guarded the Leviathan for decades, watching it lie dormant, waiting for the moment it would be needed. Time passed. Generations came and went. Humans forgot the Leviathan. They forgot the sacrifices of those who had built it. Cities rose, wars were fought on distant planets, and people lived their lives under the comforting illusion that the galaxy was far away. And yet, beneath the oceans, the Leviathan slept, its hull cold and silent, its AI waiting patiently for orders that would come far later than anyone had imagined. Then, one day the Empire arrived. Massive warships appeared above Earth's atmosphere. Their shadows darkened the skies. Billions of people looked up and froze, terrified. These were ships the size of small cities, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire continents. Their message was simple: submit or be destroyed. Earth had prepared some defenses, but nothing could withstand the firepower of the Empire. Civilian vessels scrambled to escape. Fighter drones launched from orbit only to be shredded in seconds. Humans across the world felt the same emotion, a helpless fear they had never known. In the command bunkers hidden under the Earth's crust, the last guardians of the Leviathan stirred. The ancient AI powered up, lights blinking in recognition of the approaching threat. The humans whispered to each other, their voices trembling but determined. "It's time," one of them said, his eyes reflecting the glow of the monitors. The Leviathan must wake, and for the first time in 100 years, the long-dormant ship responded. Engines thrummed quietly, sending vibrations through the ocean floor. Panels opened, energy systems hummed to life, and the AI spoke in a voice both mechanical and strangely human. Threat detected. Authorization required. The humans exchanged looks, understanding the gravity of what they were about to do. There was no turning back. Above the oceans, the sky burned with fear and uncertainty. Humanity had been cornered. Their fleets were nothing. Their weapons were weak. And yet deep beneath the waves, a single ship waited. A ship that could change everything. A ship that had been forgotten by time but not by purpose. Somewhere deep inside, the Leviathan seemed almost alive, aware of its mission. It had been built to protect humans at all costs. And now, with the Empire's massive fleet closing in, it was ready to fulfill that mission. For the first time in generations, hope sparked across Earth, not from armies, not from diplomacy, but from a forgotten warship that no one had dared to believe in. Humans looked up at the sky, not knowing what would come but ready to witness history, and far below the ocean waves the Leviathan waited, silent but unstoppable, ready to remind the galaxy that humanity was not weak. The sky over Earth darkened as the Empire's fleet moved closer. Shadows of massive warships stretched across cities and oceans, blocking sunlight like an endless eclipse. Panic rippled through the population. People ran to shelters, prayed, and held each other tightly, unable to understand how so many powerful ships could appear at once. Their weapons, their defenses, their hopes, all seemed useless against this unstoppable force. In orbit, the Empire's flagship blazed with cold, precise energy. Its commanders watched Earth's fragile defenses with contempt. "They are nothing," one officer sneered, tapping a holographic display that showed the small human fleets barely moving against the massive armada, primitive creatures clinging to their little world. "Destroy them, and move on." Meanwhile, on Earth, humans scrambled to organize what little resistance they had. Fighter drones and orbital cannons fired at the approaching fleet, but their efforts were like tossing pebbles at a storm. Explosions lit up space briefly, only to vanish as the Empire's ships shrugged off the damage. Cities trembled. Communication networks failed. Families screamed as the news spread. Earth's end was near. But deep under the ocean, in the pitch-black silence of the trenches, the Leviathan stirred. Its sensors activated, scanning the skies, recognizing the threat with a clarity humans could barely comprehend. The ancient AI spoke again, calm and firm. Threat magnitude, critical, action required. The humans who had watched over the Leviathan for decades felt a surge of fear, but also a spark of hope. This was what they had trained for. This was why they had kept the ship hidden, ready for the day the galaxy believed humanity was defenseless. For a moment, Earth seemed to hold its breath. The oceans trembled as the Leviathan's engines powered up, sending pulses through the deep. It had been asleep for generations, but the ship had remembered its mission. Its hull, black and sleek, was covered in layers of armor unknown to any other race. Its weapons, long dormant, began to hum with energy. On the surface, people did not know what was happening beneath the waves. They only saw the sky darkening further, the Empire's fleet growing larger with every passing moment. Fear tightened their chests, but somewhere deep inside an instinct told them not all hope was lost. Humans had survived before. They had endured wars, plagues, and natural disasters. Maybe, just maybe, they could survive this too. The Empire began to celebrate prematurely. Fireworks of destruction, energy beams, missiles, and plasma bursts were unleashed against Earth's defenses. Entire cities blinked out in moments, their lights extinguished by fire and smoke. Billions of people on the ground cried out, but the Empire did not notice. Their arrogance blinded them. They had never imagined that a single hidden weapon could lie in wait, ready to turn the tide. Then something changed. Far below the ocean's surface, a tremor shook the seas. It started small but grew stronger, pushing ships in the coastal waters violently. Satellites in orbit detected movement, something massive rising from the deep. And then the Leviathan broke the surface. Its emergence was unlike anything humans had seen. The water boiled and roared as the black behemoth lifted itself above the waves. Its hull reflected the sunlight like a dark star. Towers and weapons rose from its frame, humming with energy. The humans on the coast stopped screaming. They stared. Hope, fragile but unbroken, began to bloom. The Empire's commanders stared in disbelief. "What is that?" one whispered. A wave of fear washed over their ranks, replacing arrogance with panic. They had underestimated humanity. They had thought Earth was defenseless. They had been wrong, and deep within the Leviathan, the AI waited patiently, ready to strike. The ship's systems locked onto the Empire's fleet. Its weapons glowed with a quiet menace, a promise of destruction that no one could escape. For the first time in centuries, humans realized something extraordinary. They were not powerless. They had something the galaxy had forgotten, something that could fight back. The war was about to begin. The ocean roared as the Leviathan fully emerged from the depths. Waves crashed against coastal cities, sending ships and debris flying. People on the shore froze, their mouths open in disbelief. The ship was unlike anything they had ever seen. Massive, black and sharp-edged, yet graceful in its terrible power. Its hull gleamed under the sun, reflecting the fear and awe of billions watching from below. Inside the Leviathan, the crew moved with purpose. Generations of humans who had trained for this day worked quickly, their hands steady despite the pounding of their hearts. The AI guided them through every system. Its voice, calm and precise, reassured them while giving clear commands. Weapons online. Shields at full capacity, targeting the Empire's fleet. Above, the Empire's commanders could not believe their eyes. A single ship, an ancient forgotten weapon, rose boldly against their massive fleet. "Impossible," one officer shouted, his voice trembling. "It is too large, too advanced. How could Earth hide such a warship?" The Leviathan did not move like the Empire's vessels. It did not rely on numbers or brute force alone. It was designed with precision, with strategy, with the intent to survive impossible odds. Its weapons powered up, glowing with energy that humans had only dreamed of. Its shields pulsed, forming an almost living aura around the ship. On Earth, people watched in silent awe. Fear had not vanished, but it was joined by something stronger. Hope. For the first time in their lives, they felt that their world might survive. that their species might stand against the mighty empire. Children clung to their parents, whispering prayers not out of fear but out of wonder. Soldiers and civilians alike felt a strange, unifying pride. This was their ship. This was humanity's guardian. The Empire's fleet began to organize, their formations shaking under the threat of the unknown. Their weapons swiveled toward the Leviathan, firing first in warning, then in panic. Beams of energy cut the sky, meeting the shields of the Leviathan. Sparks and explosions lit the void, but the ancient ship barely flinched. It had been built for moments like this, an unstoppable force lying in wait for the day it would be needed most. As the Leviathan rose higher into the sky, its engines burned bright, leaving trails of energy that stretched across the horizon. The ship's weapon systems calibrated. Its sensors scanned every Imperial vessel, measuring strength, speed, and weakness. The AI whispered to its crew, engagement imminent. Earth's survival depends on this strike. The humans inside swallowed their fear. They felt the weight of billions counting on them. Yet they also felt something else, the fire of defiance. Humanity had survived worse than this. Humanity had risen from ashes, fought invaders, and endured when all odds seemed lost. And now, for the first time, their hope had a weapon that could match the Empire's arrogance. The Empire fired again, but the Leviathan's shields held strong. It began to move slowly at first, then with sudden speed that shocked everyone watching. The oceans trembled. Cities shook. People fell to their knees, shouting both in terror and awe. The Leviathan was alive, and it was coming for them. In the command room of the Leviathan, the crew took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history. The ship had waited for centuries, hidden in darkness, forgotten by the galaxy. Now it would show the Empire what humanity was capable of. The first strike was coming, and when it did, no one, not the Empire, not the people on Earth, would ever forget the day the Leviathan woke. The Leviathan hung in the sky like a shadow of destiny. Its massive hull gleamed and weapons glowed with a cold, deadly energy. Below, billions of humans watched, hearts pounding, hope flickering in their chests. They could barely see the distant Empire fleet, yet they knew what was coming. Humanity had been cornered, humiliated, and mocked. And now, for the first time, they would fight back, not with weakness, but with unimaginable power. Inside the Leviathan, the crew prepared. Their hands moved over the controls with practiced precision. The AI spoke softly, almost like encouragement. Targeting systems ready. Firepower calibrated. First strike authorized. The humans exchanged glances, fear still present but now mixed with fierce determination. They were about to change the course of history. The Empire's fleet noticed the Leviathan fully now. At first they laughed. A relic. A primitive toy, one commander sneered. It will be crushed in minutes. Their ships formed attack formations, energy cannons charging, ready to annihilate the lone vessel. But the Leviathan did not move like other ships. It moved with purpose, deliberate and terrifying. Then the first shot fired. A beam of light cut through space like a blade. It struck the nearest Imperial cruiser, slicing through its hull as if it were paper. Explosions erupted, fireballing into the void. The Empire's laughter turned to shock, then panic. How could a single ship destroy their mighty cruiser with such ease? The Leviathan did not stop. Energy pulses fired from its weapon systems, each shot precise, each strike deadly. Missiles launched, splitting into dozens of smaller warheads mid-flight, striking multiple ships at once. Entire squadrons of the Empire vanished in bursts of fire. The humans on the ground cheered, tears streaming down their faces. Hope, long buried, surged back. The Empire tried to retaliate. Hundreds of their ships fired simultaneously, beams crossing, missiles streaking through the void. But the Leviathan's shields held firm. Energy rippled across its hull, deflecting, absorbing, and countering the attacks. It moved like a predator among prey, calculating every strike, dodging and countering with lethal efficiency. Fear spread through the Empire fleet. Their commanders shouted orders, but it was too late. The Leviathan was already inside their formations, striking with precision no one could match. Cruisers exploded in sequences, battleships fractured, and fighters were torn apart before they could even reach the human ship. The once confident invaders now trembled, realizing that this was no ordinary fight. Humanity had awakened something the galaxy had never seen. On Earth, people stood together, united by awe and fear. Children clutched their parents, soldiers looked to the sky in disbelief, and leaders paused in their command centers, overwhelmed by the spectacle. This was not just a warship. This was a symbol, a reminder that humans would not bow, would not surrender, and would never be weak. Inside the Leviathan, the crew felt the weight of history on their shoulders. Each strike was a declaration. Humanity still had power, still had courage, and still had hope. The ship's engines hummed, its weapons glowed brighter, and the AI's voice remained calm, guiding them through the chaos. All systems functioning. Targeting Empire fleet complete. Continue engagement. The Empire tried to retreat, but the Leviathan was relentless. It moved faster than any human vessel could hope, striking ships even as they fled. The sky above Earth became a theater of fire and destruction, yet beneath it all a sense of pride and unity spread among humans. They were witnessing a miracle, a forgotten weapon turning the tide of hopelessness into triumph. By the time the first phase of the attack ended, hundreds of Imperial ships lay in ruins. Billions of eyes had witnessed the impossible. The Leviathan, scarred but unbroken, hovered above Earth, a dark guardian against a galaxy that had once mocked humanity. The first strike had been more than a victory. It was a message. The message was clear. Humanity is not to be underestimated. Humanity survives. Humanity fights. The sky above Earth burned with fire and smoke as the Leviathan carved its path through the Empire's fleet. Every ship it destroyed sent shivers across the oceans below. Cities shook from the shock waves, windows shattered, and people clutched each other in fear. But amidst the chaos, a spark of hope lit the hearts of humanity. For the first time in generations, they felt that survival was possible. Inside the Leviathan, the crew worked in perfect harmony. Generations of humans had trained for this moment, and now they were the instruments of Earth's defiance. They did not see themselves as soldiers. They were guardians, carrying the dreams and courage of billions on their shoulders. Each command, each strike was precise and deliberate. The AI guided them flawlessly, its calm voice cutting through the roar of the engines. Shields stable, weapons fully operational, enemy fleet fragmented. Continue engagement. The Empire, meanwhile, was in chaos. Their massive fleet, once confident and unyielding, now staggered under the assault of a single warship. Commanders shouted orders, their voices trembling with fear, but coordination was impossible. Cruisers and battleships exploded in rapid succession, tearing through formations like wind through paper. Pilots screamed in disbelief as their ships were obliterated before they could even fire a shot. On Earth, people gathered wherever they could to witness the battle. From rooftops, hills, and streets, humans stared at the sky in awe. Children clung to parents, tears running down their faces, while soldiers paused in their defenses, mesmerized. The Leviathan was more than a warship. It was a symbol, a reminder that humans had always fought, even against impossible odds. Parents whispered to their children, "Look, this is our fight. This is who we are." The Leviathan moved with terrifying speed and precision, its weapons fired in waves, striking multiple targets simultaneously. Energy beams sliced through Imperial cruisers, missiles split into dozens of smaller warheads mid-flight, and entire squadrons vanished in bursts of light. Each explosion sent tremors through the atmosphere, shaking humans on the ground. Yet the ship remained unscathed, its shields glowing bright and unyielding. Fear spread through the Empire ranks like wildfire. Their pride and confidence evaporated, replaced by panic and desperation. Retreat was attempted, but the Leviathan was relentless. Gravity weapons locked ships in place, pulling them back into the path of destruction. Even the fastest Imperial ships could not escape. Humanity had not merely survived this long, now it dominated. Inside the Leviathan, the crew felt the enormity of their mission. Every strike carried the weight of Earth's history, the dreams of generations and the hope of billions. They were not just fighting for survival, they were defending the essence of humanity itself. The AI's calm guidance allowed them to focus, but there was a shared understanding. This battle was bigger than any one of them. As the fight continued, Earth's people began to cheer, their voices rising across continents. Hope turned into determination, fear into pride. They saw that no force, no empire could crush their spirit. The Leviathan became a beacon, a symbol of resilience and defiance. Humans were not pawns in the galaxy. They were survivors, fighters, and dreamers. By the time the sun set, the Empire's fleet was in ruins. Hundreds of ships lay broken, drifting in the void. The Leviathan hovered above the oceans, scarred but victorious. Earth's people looked up at the massive warship with tears and admiration. For the first time in generations, they felt truly safe. Not because of numbers, not because of weapons, but because of humanity's courage and ingenuity. The Battle of Earth had ended, but its message was clear. The galaxy could no longer underestimate humanity. The Leviathan had reminded everyone, human and alien alike, that when pushed to the edge, humans do not break. Humans fight, humans endure, and humans win. The Empire's fleet was in chaos. Ships that had once ruled entire star systems were now burning husks drifting through space. Commanders shouted orders, but panic had taken hold. Their pride and confidence were gone, replaced by fear unlike anything they had felt before. The Leviathan, a single human warship, had shattered their illusions of invincibility. Inside the Leviathan, the crew worked tirelessly. The hum of the engines and the glow of weapons filled the command room. Every human on board knew what was at stake. The AI spoke calmly. Enemy fleet fragmented. Probability of complete neutralization high. Continue engagement. The humans nodded to one another, their fear replaced with determination. They had trained for this, waited for this. And now the moment had come to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. The Leviathan moved with unmatched precision, targeting the remaining Imperial dreadnoughts. Energy beams lanced through the void, striking ships with surgical accuracy. Missiles split into dozens of warheads mid-flight, leaving no target unscathed. Even as the Empire attempted to regroup, the Leviathan's gravity-based weapons pulled ships out of formation, leaving them vulnerable to the relentless assault. On Earth, billions watched, their eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. People who had fled to bunkers and shelters stepped outside, staring at the sky. Children clutched their parents, while adults held hands and whispered prayers of hope and gratitude. Humanity had been on the brink of annihilation, yet now they saw the impossible unfolding before them. One lost, forgotten ship was defeating a fleet that had once terrified the galaxy. Panic spread through the Empire's ranks like wildfire. Even the most experienced pilots and commanders felt the weight of impending defeat. Ships tried to retreat, weaving through the carnage, but the Leviathan was relentless. It pursued, striking with relentless speed, its AI predicting every maneuver, every chance of escape. No matter how far the Empire ran, the humans would not let them survive. Inside the Leviathan, the crew felt a strange mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. Each destroyed ship brought them closer to victory, but it also reminded them of the destruction around them. They could see Earth's oceans, cities, and forests trembling under the shockwaves. They remembered why they had fought, not for glory, not for revenge, but for humanity itself. The AI's voice reminded them again, Earth must survive. Humanity must endure. Engage fully. The Leviathan's final strikes were devastating. Imperial dreadnoughts, the largest and strongest of their fleet, exploded in sequences of fire and metal. Squadrons that had once terrified human colonies were vaporized in moments. The sky above Earth and the void around it glowed with destruction, yet the Leviathan remained unscathed, its shields holding against every desperate attack. On Earth, people cheered, tears streaming down their faces. The impossible had happened. Humanity had survived. Humanity had not only defended their planet but had shattered the Empire's fleet, sending a clear message to the galaxy. Humans were not weak. Humans were not to be underestimated. Humans would fight, endure, and survive no matter the odds. As the last Imperial ships fell, silence stretched across space. Smoke and fire drifted among the stars. The Leviathan hovered above the oceans, battered but unbroken, a dark guardian against the emptiness of space. On the surface, humans gazed up at it with awe and gratitude. The ship had not only protected them, it had reminded them of what it meant to be human, resilient, brave, and unstoppable when united. The turning point was clear. Humanity had faced extinction, yet they had risen. The Empire had believed themselves unstoppable, yet one lost, forgotten prototype had shattered their pride and power. The galaxy would remember this day. And deep inside the Leviathan, the crew allowed themselves a moment of quiet triumph, knowing they had done the impossible. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought. Humanity had won. The void above Earth was quiet now. The Empire's fleet lay in ruins, drifting like broken monuments of pride and arrogance. Smoke and fire painted the stars, but the Leviathan remained, its dark hull scarred but unbroken, a silent sentinel above the planet it had sworn to protect. For billions of humans below, it was more than a ship. It was a promise fulfilled, a guardian come alive and proof that humanity would never bow to fear. On the oceans, waves crashed violently as the Leviathan hovered, stabilizing itself above the waters. People watched in awe, their faces streaked with tears, their voices trembling with joy and disbelief. Across continents, cities erupted with cheers. Humans hugged each other, strangers embraced, and parents lifted their children to see the ship. Never before had hope felt so alive, so tangible. Humanity had stared into annihilation and emerged victorious. Inside the Leviathan, the crew allowed themselves a rare moment to breathe. Their hands were bruised, their bodies exhausted, and yet their hearts raced with triumph. They had done the impossible. The AI's voice, calm and steady, filled the command room. All enemy vessels neutralized. Earth secured. Humanity's survival confirmed. The humans exchanged glances, the weight of history pressing down on them, and yet for the first time they felt pure, unshakable pride. Far across the galaxy, word spread quickly. Systems and civilizations that had long looked down on Earth trembled. Whispers began. A single human warship destroyed the Empire's fleet. Humanity is stronger than we believed. Entire empires reconsidered their assumptions. Humans were no longer insignificant. Humans were no longer weak. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. Back on Earth, the Leviathan's engines powered down, and the hum of energy faded into silence. Yet the ship remained a symbol of defiance and protection. Children waved at it as if waving to an old friend. Soldiers saluted, scientists stared in awe, and leaders of nations wept quietly, knowing the fragile survival of their species had been secured by courage, ingenuity, and sheer human determination. In the command room, the crew reflected on what had happened. They had faced impossible odds. They had stood against a force that had crushed civilizations, a force that had believed themselves unbeatable, and yet humanity had triumphed. The Leviathan had reminded the galaxy and themselves of what it meant to be human, to endure, to fight and to rise when all hope seemed lost. As the sun set over the oceans, its light glinting off the Leviathan's black hull, humans on the surface felt a deep connection to each other. For the first time in centuries, they were united, not by fear or survival alone, but by pride. Pride in their species, pride in their resilience, and pride in the knowledge that they could face anything the galaxy threw at them. The Leviathan had not only destroyed the Empire's fleet, it had destroyed fear. It had destroyed doubt. It had shown every human, every civilization, and every alien species that when pushed to the edge, humanity would fight back with unmatched courage and ingenuity. And somewhere deep inside, the Leviathan's AI reflected the truth of what it had done. It did not feel pride, but it recognized purpose fulfilled. It had awakened at the moment of greatest need, defended its people, and ensured the survival of humanity. The galaxy had tried to forget humans. The galaxy had tried to dismiss them, but no one could ignore them now. The stars above Earth shone brighter that night as if celebrating the victory of a species the universe had underestimated for too long. Humanity had survived the impossible. Humanity had endured the unthinkable. And humanity had emerged stronger than ever. The Leviathan remained in orbit, a silent guardian, a reminder, and a promise. To the galaxy, it was a warning. To humanity, it was hope. And in that moment, the message was clear for all to see. Humans do not surrender. Humans endure. Humans fight. And when pushed beyond their limits, humans win. The Empire had learned it the hard way. The galaxy would never forget it again.